there, Simon Whale here, and I am chuffed to have with me an old friend, an old face. Hello here, Jan Foo, how are you?
I'm very well. It's lovely to see you again.
Looking resplendent, as you always are. You can say the same back to me, but you probably won't, but that's fine. Right,
compliments. We've only just got started, Simon.
There you go. It's obviously good. Look, we have known each other a while, haven't we? And do you want to just give a bit of your background here, so that we understand, obviously, where you've come from? I think that's always really important before we go into the very exciting area we're going to be talking about with you going forwards.
Yeah, I mean, I set up my agency in about 2006, I think it was. That dates me very much, makes me very old, which is fine with me. And came into a estate agency with no knowledge whatsoever. I was a market disruptor, but I had no clue I was one of those at the time. I just was fortunate enough to learn my craft with Vodafone. So I had an incredibly strong marketing background, and came into agency and loved the property side of it, but didn't like how it was happening. So literally saw that niche for myself, that, different blue ocean. And we began the whole lifestyle marketing and moved away from double panel radiators to the left to why would you want to live in the home, and what would it mean for you to be here? So completely changed what was what. And it was in kind of like a league of our own at the time.
And your stuff was exceptional still. I remember it very vividly in terms of the old, we were just talking about it off camera, the old purple cow. How do you stand out from the crowd?
You're calling me a cow. We're going there.
I'm not. I am far too gallant to do that. And I'm not brave enough, even though it's only over Zoom. I know you can get to me, but look, it is. You really do have. So what I was kind of keen to do is, what made you're there at Vodafone, obviously a huge corporate blue chip. It's about as different a world as you can do. What was it that you felt that made you want to go? I mean, obviously property's fantastically alluring and everything else, but what was it that gave you the drive that you thought, this is something I need to do?
I think, coming from Vodafone, I was like at the top of excellence, and they were literally bringing it in as a product, and a product for everybody to use. And what I really like to do is look at an industry, see what can be done differently and make it better. That's kind of like my thing. And when I looked at the estate agency industry, and I'd just come back from Boston, I had 2 young kids, and I just thought, this needs it. This needs marketing. We can do this in such a different way. So for me, it's always a challenge. It's always, is there a place in the market that we can get hold of and run with it, make it our own, make it completely different, and introduce a whole new ethos to the customer? And it's always about that customer. It's always about the future customer. Who are they? Why are they changing? What do they need? And at that level of the market, £1 million plus, they needed more. And that's where the lifestyle was born. And then obviously I got into bed with Fine & Country, and the rest, as you know, is history. And I was one of the inaugural Fine & Country licensees. And then I sold the business in 2019, but a phenomenal ride, unbelievable.
Yeah, great. And when, I mean, obviously it's changed much over the years, and Fine & Country itself obviously has just become this, this fantastic organisation full of some really brilliant agents, innovative guys out there. But how do you perceive that the marketing side of things has changed? It clearly has. It's moved on leaps and bounds. But where do you see it in comparison now to what's happening in the wider world?
I think what's happening in the wider world is incredibly powerful. And it's not just the marketing per se, it's the whole leadership. It's the whole looking at your business from a completely different perspective. And because I've been an agent, and because I've had my business, and because I've run it, and I know how hard it is, I came through 2008, I've gone through financial crises, I've gone through all the different things that impact, but obviously the pandemic is one of the biggest impacts we've had to deal with. But what I love about anything that disrupts is we get this chance to go again. Yeah, so I'll circle back to your question, but I'm thinking now, in 2008, we got Uber, we got Instagram, we got Airbnb, we got all these different ways to do things that had always been done the same way before. Yeah. And going back to my disruption mindset, I love to go, what is the new way? What can they do? So it's not just what is the marketing, which is just one part of it. It's like, where do I now go with my business? How do I now use my leadership role to kind of make this something that I co-create with my team? Your team are on the front line. They're the closest people to your customer, but your customer changed. So we can't just go, let's whip up a new piece of marketing and let's change that. We have to go, what does the future customer need? What's changed about their needs? What do they want now? Where are they looking for things? And then that dictates where the marketing comes. You have to go to the root to figure out what it is that they want to then come back and set the marketing. Does that make sense? Or am I going off?
No, it absolutely does make sense. Should agents be fearful of disruption, or should they embrace it?
They should embrace it and not think of disruption as something, aggressive. I mean, there are market disruptors out there. We know there are doing things very differently. But the key is to think, how do you want to lead? How do you want to disrupt your market? And there are 4 pieces to it. One piece is empowering your people to do more and to innovate more. Another part of it is providing, an organization that's going to evolve, like move with what's happening out there in the marketplace, not just stay still and go, this is how we do it, so this is how we always do it. The third part is tech convergence, and that's something that you really relate to, because tech's aligning, and a simple way to think of tech convergence is, for example, Peloton. So Peloton could have been a separate exercise bike, and then separate piece of music, and then a separate piece of here's how you do the exercises. But Peloton is the whole thing, building communities, and the last part of it is really optimizing your team to innovate together and make it happen together. So instead of this old-fashioned leadership structure of, I'm the leader, do what I say, this is how it is, go off and do your thing, make your phone calls, sit at your desk. It's not about that anymore. It's about going, let's create the right mindset where everybody's healthy, where people are happy. That psychologically creates a place for people to be more innovative. And it's about opening the floor up to going, guys, how can we think differently about how we do this?
And you said before, didn't you, Corona has accelerated that kind of need, really, that requirement to think outside the box, clearly.
Yeah, with so many different industries and so many different niches. And I was looking, I think I mentioned this to you earlier, I was just checking what portion of our GDP is made up from a state agency, and it's 7%.
That's incredible, isn't it? I mean, it's
over £100 billion worth of income into the UK, and over 1.5 billion people employed. This is a massive industry. Yeah. And where I feel passionately about it is, for agents, there's always a bad rap. There's always, they're the dinosaur, they're stuck in the old ages, it's this, that, and the other. But really, what if we just turn that all on its head and said, no, here's an opportunity to take this piece again and move it forward, and really change the leadership to create a completely different environment. We can transform it like it was transformed before.
Yeah, I always think that. I mean, it's look. There's certainly, going back. There was certainly a strong Luddite niche, of people who are willing to embrace agency, but I really think that's very unfair these days. If anything, actually, agents have proven themselves more than willing, probably over eager in adopting technology. Our research shows that on average, agents have 20 different suppliers, and most of those would be tech, obviously prop tech firms as well, outside of your normal board contractors and things like that. The problem they've got is that they've not really thought the strategy through. They've had, I'll take that bit of tech because it solves that very narrow problem, and they've not thought about the wider connotations of how it all fits together. That's the challenge I see going forwards, as you said, with convergence.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because agents will do loads of training on the actual physical aspect of the job. So there are brilliant, countless trainers out there, and I know you've got loads of them who are part of your platform and Kerfuffle, and they're brilliant and respected. And that's amazing, but there needs to be that piece that's missing in the market, that gap of where is the whole perspective? Where is the whole thing, the leadership, what is our strategy moving forward? A strategy is not a piece of paper or a document. It's a moving piece that moves with you and with your people. Where's the culture? Culture doesn't mean whizzing about on skateboards and having like a sexy office with a fruit bowl, dips for everybody, or smoothies. No, sorry, but it's not. You know, the culture is something where everybody belongs to the same ethos. Everybody knows what's happening. Everybody knows what the why is, what the purpose is. And then as you make your way forward together, people are happier to join in, to be part of it, to get creative. I mean, Gen X is coming up along, and they're going to be the new people that you're all going to be hiring. And do you know when they've like checked with them, what they want more than profit is purpose. That's who they want to go and work for.
Now, this is, you know, what just one of the key areas is going to be loads of different areas where you're ticking the box and why people should be paying attention. But if you're not on top of this topic in particular, of understanding that, you know, this is going to be one of the hardest job markets to pick decent staff up, and unless you're actually able to understand, empathize, and to get them, you're going to be left at the back of the queue, aren't you?
Yeah, and I've trained this year, like I said to you, I'm training 500 business coaches, Forever Coach, and we're in this phenomenal 16-week program. Oh. It's incredibly immersive, and part of that is about the leadership, about vision, about purpose. Purpose is the biggest thing that I train on, and I use companies like Patagonia. You know, if you buy from Patagonia, everyone in the company sings the same song. Everybody knows why they're there. It collects and connects everybody, but you're also giving something back, you know, to our global earth and the problems that we need to solve with global warming. You've got companies like Warby Parker. They're a fancy sunglasses supplier in New York, but if you buy,
I was going to pretend I knew then anyway, just because
you didn't. They then give a free pair to someone else. So if you're you're coming along, you want a pair of glasses, why would you not buy from them?
Yeah, no, brilliant.
It doesn't cost you anymore. So purpose is absolutely critical and huge, and especially when we're looking at, you know, the Great Resignation. No, it's the Great Edit, and that's why, you know, we created the Business Edit. That's where that came from, because I like to turn things upside down and go, well, it doesn't need to be that. What if it's a time to really look at your business, look at what you do, look at what you've got, and go, right, let's change it. Let's completely
perfect segue opportunity there for me to be able to leap in and then talk about just one of the different ways, isn't there? So talk to us about this. So talk about, obviously, now that you poacher turned gamekeeper, you're obviously going back and actually bringing to life all these wonderful ways that you can help agents stand out from the crowd. Do you want to just give us a little bit of a background about how you are helping people at the moment?
Yeah, and it's not just agents. This is a leadership program, but obviously I came, you know, we connected and spoke together because what you're doing in your prop tech world and what I'm doing, there are synergies between it, and it's an industry I really care about. So for me, it's more leadership training, and the Business Edit was born from the post-pandemic nightmare that companies found themselves in. What is my emerging future? What do I do? What is she talking about? Being vision, you know, how do I make my culture? What does purpose driven look like? Who is my future customer? And what's agency? All these words floating around out in the ether. Did somebody swallow a thesaurus, or is it really real? Is there something behind it? And I wanted to be optimistic about this new process, but without being like cookie cutter, let's have a bumper sticker, be positive. So in my mind, it was like, you know, let's be pragmatic about this, but let's build something. Let's build something that actually can change and transform these leaders. And I've been training with EverCoach and in my business consultancy world for the last 2 years. And a lot of the work that we do is like biohacking, re-engineering people and changing values and beliefs. And that's not kind of woo-woo fluffy stuff. That is, let me not go to a conference, take on board all this information, go back to the office and go, right, guys, let's go to Greg's. If I'm making that really succinct. So this, what is going to happen is we are having our inaugural retreat based up here. I live in the Lake District, literally Windermere is there. And I've taken over residence of a huge Georgian manor, beautiful lakeside, and I'm hosting a retreat for 3 days, and I want 12 leaders. But it's not just, oh, let's go on a retreat, it's a mission. We're on a mission, you know, and we're backed by some incredibly scientific guys to do with leadership. I've hired master coaches from the US, and I'm going to teach and train all this new stuff, but I'm going to do it in a very boutique way, niche, only 12.
Yeah.
And because I'm really lucky,
You're not preaching to a big crowd and it's all a lot of generic here. This is very much going to be, understanding.
Did you say fluff or generic? But both. Not fluffy stuff. It's like the stuff that's going to change things. So I've literally pulled in, and I'm lucky to live on an incredible estate. And we have an adventure team. So we're going to go off 4x4. We're going to go off roading. We're going to do mountain stuff. So we're going to like learn processes, be really immersive, and then we're going to do practical and physical things. So yeah.
And you've mentioned immersive a few times there, and I've got to admit a little fear of mine whenever I hear the phrase immersive. You know, when I've gone to a training session, I was like,
does it make you think they're going to take you away and make you
they're going to make me do something here? But the truth is it's really important to break that comfort factor, isn't it? To get out there and do some of that stuff. What do you believe that immersive angle gives over just traditional training?
It's completely different. The first day when everyone arrives to us, they'll be collected by 4x4s, taken down to the lake. And within 45 minutes of a long journey from London or US or wherever they've come from, they'll be kayaking out on the lake. And that kayaking on the lake is not just fun. It's kind of like a real like release. And then leaders of a similar ilk and nature, then you can feel that you can begin to share what's going on. We're going to look at what is really happening, and sharing those stories is going to allow us to create the beginning of that journey. It's like the GPS, Simon. I always think of like, let's put the coordinates in, but let's put them in together based on what's really happening, not some bullshit that, you know, someone's come up with that this is what leadership looks like now, but let's literally plug in our problems, what's happening. And so by the time we leave here on Friday morning, we've actually transformed something and got a real working strategy, a living thing that we can take back and completely change our leadership.
What do you hope that this lucky 12 are going to come away with at the end of those 3 days? How are they going to be changed?
Because it will be a way for them to think, wow, my business, for example, did X. So whatever I was making, I can probably 10x that if I want to, because I'm not going to be doing it in the same way that I did for the last 20 years. So is it going to increase the team? Yes. Is it going to increase the well-being? Yes. Is it going to increase momentum growth? Yes. Are they going to come up with new things that nobody else has thought of? Yes. So will they all of a sudden in a marketplace that's been excuse me, the same for a set amount of years, be able to come in with a completely fresh purpose and look and feel, then that's got to transform everything about the business and probably create new ones.
Yeah, that's really, really important to understand. And you've mentioned culture, and I think everybody obviously understands the importance of what a high-powered culture can do. How easy, difficult is it to actually implement and to get a culture going in a business?
You know, the culture part of it is, it's like a dance. So if you hired me to come in and create a culture for a company, it's like, here's the dance, but everybody that belongs to the company needs to know the steps. Not only do they need to know the steps, but they need to anticipate what steps are coming next. And the only way to do that is through incredible communication. And I think of
this isn't about having kind of false glib statements, isn't it, or slogans? And you see in many businesses where they've got the client comes first, but that's the very last thing that you kind of feel that business gives to you. How do you stop it becoming formulaic like that?
Because the culture's the engine; it determines how fast you're going to go. And I think the formulaic thing is like talking about that toxic leadership of like, oh, let's just be all, you know, joie de vivre and everything's amazing and isn't it so happy and we're not having a hard time, you know, and that's the toxic rubbish that actually if someone is struggling or they're not happy within a work culture, just pushes them down more. So the truth of it is to really build a really open and transparent culture with agency, which means that people feel they are part of it, they belong to it, and they have a piece of responsibility within it. And that culture engages everybody in the joint purpose.
Okay, that's great. It's great to understand. And you spoke as well there, mentioning the future customers angle there.
Like critical. So many people are saying to me, you know, ideal customer avatar and niche and all this stuff. That was then.
Yeah.
It's like, can you imagine all these kids coming out of school that have been trained about how to work in the corporate world, and then the corporate world's just been blown apart.
Totally.
There are no offices. There are like hybrid teams. There are disparate workforces.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everything that was no longer exists. And that's why I've been completely immersed in this coaching of these new business coaches, because it's changed so much. So future customer is more about going, so who is that customer down that line? Is your customer going to build? Are they going to buy a £7 million house from a TikTok video? Maybe they are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's understanding the smallest viable audience, isn't it, for you as a business, and connecting with those. Never has it been more. I mean, it doesn't really matter, does it, whether you agree with their politics or not? You know, what the likes of the Trumps of the world have found is that if you find your demographic and it's a third of the nation that believes in you no matter what, most people with a third market share would be more than happy. In fact, would be ecstatic, wouldn't they?
You know, if I was talking to agents, I would say, do a poll, go and find them, organize a group, get your people on the front line who sit there and talk to your customer day in, day out, and find out what is it they need. Netflix knew what their customer needed. They transformed. They are perfect, you know, ideation of like future customer and Convergence in the same session, because they went from CDs and blockbusters to streaming and being delivered, you know, to your TV in your front room. And believe me, Netflix are already a million miles down the line with how they're now curating that streamed content that's coming into you now. So it's already moving, you know, 10 years ahead. And that's the bit that the leadership and agency in particular, I think they focus sometimes on the moment because there's so much to do. And this is about saying, let's make it the whole package. Let's make the whole thing inclusive, not focus on the different parts. As you said earlier, this is my tech, this is that, this is this.
What makes a good leader? Is it simply the ability to be proactive rather than reactive, or is that just a key element of it? What to you makes a good leader?
I think somebody that listens. I think somebody with the ability to see what that future could be. I think somebody who wants to be inclusive, someone that's dynamic, and somebody that can read what the industry and the customer needs. At the end of the day, let's get right down to the bare basics. Any business is about what somebody wants and needs.
Yeah.
Any business. And then the leader is the person that comes in with that vision and that mission and goes, this is the way we're going. This is where we're taking it.
How many of those are innate skills, and how many of the and can all of those be taught, or do you have to have something, you know, essentially the clay there to be able to be adapted and I suppose coached?
I think you have to be open. I think that's the biggest thing, and the biggest downfall for the leadership is that it was very dictatorial. As I said earlier, you know, this is how you do it and get on with it.
Yeah. And as you spoke about, it was about very niche, almost niche skills, which is, you know, there isn't, look, having training on specific, like the art of valuing and everything else, or being a property manager, is important. But actually, this is looking wider than that, isn't it?
But I'm saying to think of your business as a business, not just this is the function of the business, this is how it does it, but we're a whole thing. It's kind of like coming one layer out from that, you know, initial piece. And you said to me, can it be learned? You know, a lot of the leaders that we're coaching at the moment, they're terrified, or they're really closed. And there's a massive gap between I'm over here and this is what I want to do. And I'm worried about my, you know, my numbers and my figures and how am I going to make it and pay the rent and pay the stuff and And you've got a team over here maybe sensing that fear or being driven, go out and sell, go out and do X, Y, and Z. And this whole thing about leadership is going, no, we don't, it's no longer a push thing. It's a pull. It's more of a community thing now, and it's more about facing it together.
Do you think that Gen X though is more than any generation I've seen hungry for that actually to happen though, isn't it?
They're not going to go and work for. They're not going to go and work for, you know, the guy in his suit sat on his mountain going like this, you know. Off you go and do the work. That's all gone. It's all disappeared. And I love that, because who wouldn't want this chance to re-edit what you have? Who wouldn't want to start again? Who wouldn't want to go, do you know what, guys, we can throw the rules out of the window and let's literally start again, but with a pragmatic approach, not just some woo-woo, flashy names and silly slogans, but let's literally craft the way forward that works for us. And at the end of the day, if they choose purpose over profit, I think they're making that intention incredibly clear.
So the ideal person for you, is there an ideal demographic for you to come on this 3-day retreat, or is it literally just those people that want to adapt, want to look at the new way of doing things?
I think it's anyone who is open to this new rule of leadership that they want to explore. It's open to CEOs, it's open to leaders who need that next, where do I go next with this? It's open to people that drive teams, that have communities, that think, we want to make a big difference and we want to be part of this mission. This is a global shift. We're dealing with MIT professors in Harvard, in Boston, who have come up with a U theory this is where leadership is going. There was a huge survey of leaders taken last week, and it's coming out now, and the document's just being created to say, 50% of leaders are like going, maybe we kind of think we know what we're doing, and 50% are just going, shit, we've got no idea, and we're halfway through the year. So any of those people who are privileged to be in that space where they have people and they want to embody this and become part of this mission, those are the people we're going to take with us. Yeah.
Exceptional. Sounds really good. And I guess that having all of those kind of immersive activities and things like that helps to break down that kind of, and to get you out into a zone where you're receptive, aren't you?
Yeah, and in the biohacking stuff and bioengineering and vision, because vision is part of it, but vision doesn't mean, oh, I'd like it to look like this and it's all pretty with flowers and I'll just write that down and it will work. No, there's actually steps that have to be put in place, and it's woven into the whole strategy to make it work. And you cannot go and be in an environment and constantly learn 90 minutes. So, going out on the lake activity is incredible. Where I live is stunningly off the charts beautiful. So to be able to take that into it, I've got yoga teachers who are with us the entire time. Now, before you go, oh, I'm not putting on my tights, Jan.
I've already got them on.
This isn't about poofing around. This is about like understanding that there's more to your position as a leader than just the physical skills that you have. So before, if I'd have said to you, oh, you can have some yoga in the middle of your day, companies would have just laughed 10 years ago and said, what the hell is this about? But now you look at, what was WeWork or any of those companies, and having a 15-minute yoga stretch is like acceptable. It's no big deal. But the new thing coming forward is all of these things that we can use to help us in our work, being present, like using the breath, changing our physiology. All those things have not been explored, and they're not being explored in the UK.
Well, they haven't been explored at all, have they? I mean, it is, the management training, let's be honest, or business training that you have is simply observing somebody else has been what it's been to date, hasn't it, in the business? And
it's awful. Awful. You need to drive it, you need to get in it, and you need to feel it. And the using the inner stuff, it's just something that people have never tapped into. But I could say to you, Simon, has there ever been a situation where your gut has said, actually, don't do that, or do it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Thing called gut, and you use it, and we do use it in our business, and we do make decisions with it. But there's teaching within this retreat, which is about how can we empower that side, how can we bring that into our work, and how can we use that with our people. And that's giving you an advantage that nobody's even begun to think of above culture and skateboards and a bit of a green smoothie.
Let's talk about the advantages, Jan. So
the advantages, are you getting? I'm northern now. I've moved back to New York.
Well, I've sort of been around, as they say. So I've got a mangled accent at the best of times, even before I've had a drink. But what are the advantages that if you manage to kind of break away from the traditional way of thinking? You keep talking about this disruptive leadership. What does that disruptive leadership allow you to be able to actually demonstrably show in the marketplace?
Well, it will allow you to change, but it will allow you to, it's, for example, going, not whinging on about the pandemic, or not going, oh my goodness, but it's more about going, that was our past, let's accept it. But in order to move forward and do things differently, then we need to disrupt that status quo. And by doing that, you create change. So the only way you can innovate, Peloton, Netflix, Uber, all of the things I mentioned earlier, the only way you can create change is by disrupting.
It's important to understand what the, what you're going to get at the end of this process, isn't it? Rather than obviously just having
I went into agency in 2006, and in 2008, the market just went, the economy crashed.
Yeah.
And so, a good idea of this. So I remember being at a conference and Bill was with me. Bill Clinton, do you remember Bill Clinton?
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
He was head of the Ombudsman and he was closely involved with Fine & Country at the time. And I said to him, we need to, create something different. What is it? Can we have like an off-market thing? Can we sell stuff online outside of the portals? And he was literally involved in, the government was opening the rules up so that properties buying and selling could change. And I came up with a concept with my team called Hidden Homes. And that's also about agency and culture. I didn't just go, oh, what are we going to do? We've got no stock. I said, come on, guys, we need to disrupt this and think about what we can do. And I never managed to secure the funding to get it open. But, the concept is like purple bricks or any of those other concepts of agency that came up after the time. So that is the concept of disruption. And we actually got a piece in the Sunday Times, and I had probably over 500 people ring in and go, we want to put our house on with Hidden Homes. I just didn't have the vehicle with which to do it, and I didn't secure the partnership in the time to get it up and running. But it proves the point that it can be in any industry. That this can happen, but there's a really good example of that disruption.
Cool. And how do people find out about this? I mean, obviously we've got your fantastic landing page. I'll put a link up at the end of that back to there. Anyone can get in contact.
Just find us. I mean, if you've got a link, that's great. There's a landing page now that I'm sharing on my social media. So there's a campaign going out there. I think they've even put it on TikTok, which is nothing to do with me. I wouldn't know TikTok, and I'm never going to dance around. And
I'm a big TikTok fan, so
I'm not going to put into captions either like this. So sorry about that. But anyway, you can find them at my website, janfoo.com, and it will direct you everywhere from there, and we'll put the links on.
And it's just to reiterate, there's just 12 spots available, isn't there?
Yeah, and literally, people are going, this is such an incredible idea. Why? And because as I said to you, this is to create a mission. So those 12 inaugural people are going to get something that doesn't exist. And then what we're going to do is we're going to relay that. It won't, it's going to be a global thing, and we're going to take it to different places. I'm actually off to Tallinn in Estonia, hopefully at the end of the month, to a master conference and to see where we're going to take it next. So yeah, here it is in little old Blighty. In the beautiful Lake District.
Well, it really is. I mean, I've seen, it's absolutely amazing where you are around there. And I think with your insight, and I love that, just where it gets always very interesting for me is where you see people who have come from other industries, lived and breathed it though within, at the coalface here, and then come away with that. Actually, you spoke about it there with a convergence, which is a whole new thing. And that's what everyone should be challenging themselves to look at, isn't it? Because otherwise,
it's so funny, Simon. My mum, she's 95, and she's like, "What's Convergence?" I said, "Oh, Mum, Convergence. Do you know what the Peloton is?" And I literally took her through the steps of it. Do you know what? Do you remember Blockbusters, Mum? Do you know how we went from Blockbusters? And she's like, "Okay, so I get it. So we had all the tech together." I'm like, "Bless her heart," But this seriously, by looking at it, and it's even what you're doing in your own business. It's where we need to be. It's what we need to be thinking about.
Absolutely great. Cool. Anything else we need to touch on before we obviously?
No, we need a sponsor. We'd like to work with somebody in the UK. So if you want to think about that, Kerfuffle could be really good because you're emerging and really cool.
Kerfuffle and Convergence with a case has a nice ring about it, doesn't it?
It's a nice ring, really, doesn't it?
My need to bastardize the English language by turning everything into a K is become a bit of a problem now. But yeah, well, I think there's so many there's a lot of commonality there, and I know we've spent a long time talking offline. I got absolutely no doubt that people are going to get a lot of value out of this. So and it would be really interesting to understand from some of those people afterwards. Maybe we catch up with a few of those if they're willing to speak as well once that's happened, and find out what they got off the back of it.
Yeah, these are like the 12 disciples. These are like the beginning of the mission. It's seriously because it's to spread it. It's not like this belongs to me. Yeah. This is like we're creating a shift. It's a mission.
Fantastic. What a fantastic way to end it. Well, thank you once again for explaining to me here, and I look forward to hearing about how fantastic it has been.
All right, my love. Thanks ever so much. It's so good to catch up. Take care.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye, love.